racism and slavery have been going on for thousands of years. It is far more difficult to enslave a population who are aware they are slaves. If you are unaware you're a slave, and even embrace your servitude, you're easily manipulated and coerced, going along with whatever story is handed you, whatever explanation for your misery is given. A great example of this is what happened in Nazi Germany with Martin Niemöller, a priest who was a racist, a eugenist. Again, eugenics was founded in England, started with the social Darwinism. Charles Darwin and his theories, the survival of the fittest, the elite caught on to this, the Huxleys, and they all interbred to try to have a elite, superior human being. Hitler loved it all. He loved the eugenics work. Margaret Sanger also. They praise her for starting Planned Parenthood when she was a radical racist who wanted to depopulate the African American community. It all goes down to this hatred, basic hatred that has been perpetuated through, basically through conditioning, like everything else. It is a mindset that has been cultivated for thousands of years, happening now in Libya with the blacks that are all being tortured, sent off to FEMA type camps and rounded up and slaughtered. But it reminds me of how even our own quote-unquote institutions that hold God to be their foundation, that turned a blind eye to many of the atrocities of the world. The rise of the Nazis, the Pope made a pact with Hitler, clearly to protect the Vatican and its riches, and to not destroy Rome. Well, of course, Italy was an ally, but it was a pact, and the ideologies in Germany, Poland, and other places were based on some racial standards and some racial feelings, especially in Germany, where one of the most famous lines against tyranny is spoken by basically a racist. Interestingly enough, Martin Niemöller, who was the son of a pastor and became a priest himself, he was ordained in 1929 and became a pastor of the Church of Jesus Christ at Dahlem, and remained an ardent supporter of Hitler. He voted for him in the 1924 elections. In 1931, Niemöller made speeches where he argued that Germany needed a Führer. In his sermons, he also espoused Hitler's view on race and nationality. He was a eugenist. Again, the eugenist movement was founded in England. The Huxleys and the social Darwinism, it grew out of there, the organic growth, where it was cultivated by, again, the Huxleys, and the elite families were all involved. They actually interbred to try to see if, well, to keep the bloodline. And it did result in some terrible deformities in children, but then it also into incredible intellect, which of course was their goal. Like Aldous Huxley and Julian Huxley, brilliant, genius, totalitarian eugenists that were part of this inbreeding with the families, the Huxleys. This was a very interesting part in history. Never really discussed, but very true. And the elite corps grew out of this philosophy of eugenics. This is where the ideas for social control, depopulation, making man the fittest, like the Georgia Guidestones, I mean, turning humanity into what they perceive it to be. It's really, really evil, and very, very insidious in its subtlety. But then again, it's right in your face in many cases. Anyway, so Martin Niemöller was a priest. In 1933, he complained to Adolf Hitler, who appointed Ludwig Müller as the country's Reich bishop in the Protestant Church. So there's some politics in there with this guy. But with the support of Karl Barth, a professor of theology at Bonn University, in May 1934, a group of rebel pastors formed what became known as the Confessional Church. In his sermon on the 27th of June 1937, Niemöller pointed out that on Wednesday the secret police penetrated the closed church on Frederick Werner and arrested the altar 8 members of the Council of Brethren. The following month, Niemöller himself was arrested. He was held 8 months without trial, and when his case finally took place, he was found guilty of abusing the pulpit and was fined 2,000 marks. As he left the court, he was arrested by the Gestapo and sent to Sachsenhausen concentration camp to be re-educated. Well, this is all part of it. It was at this time that he wrote the famous words, famous poem. First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. Well, famous as those lines were, he was clearly, he had some insight into it. He was just his own personal viewpoint. But it does illustrate how you have to speak out. You have to reveal tyranny. You have to fear nothing. And strike out against this, because it is really not a joke. There are things going on in this world today that literally are endangering humanity. And it's not war per se. It's certainly not terrorism. It is this destruction of society by design. UN Agenda 21, moving towards world government, moment by moment. Full control over all aspects of human life. Farming. Monsanto controlling everything. All the food in the world. The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers controlling the money. And the oil. It goes on and on and on. This is what it's about. This is collectivism. John P. Holdren, sterilants in water, sterilants in vaccines. This is all happening. Microchipping becoming commonplace. It's so far-fetched to believe, but it is so true that they are planning to completely enslave and control us without us even knowing it. That is the ultimate tyranny. And that's what we're under. It comes from this eugenics background. now moving into trans humanism, Ray Kurzweil, and all of this wild, morphing with technology, really crazy stuff. They have this new funeral system in Miami where the bodies are basically turned into water instead of to be more green. This whole green world, the green police, commercial from Audi, a little mind control, making everyone think it's so funny and all. And sure, it's a cute commercial, and it is sort of funny, but knowing the globalists and knowing how they operate, this is their subtext. This is what the audience doesn't know yet in the story. But when it's revealed, that'll be the realization for anyone that understands how story writing is done or screenwriting. So what I'm working for here is the realization of America to what's going on. I think an interesting contrast to Niemöller's famous words are written by something I took off of Information Liberation website, titled by Chris, interestingly enough. First they came for the lemonade stand, and I didn't say anything because I didn't have a lemonade stand. Then they came for the organic food and raw milk, and I didn't say anything because I didn't have any organic food and raw milk. Then they came for the vitamins, and I didn't say anything because I didn't have any vitamins. Then they started shutting down old coal power plants, saying they were all dirty when there's really clean coal. And I didn't say anything because my electricity comes from wind turbines. Then they came for my neighbor's house and claimed eminent domain. But I didn't say anything since my house is just fine. Then they came for the gold, and I didn't say anything because I had no gold. Then they came for the guns, and I didn't say anything because I had no guns. In the end, they came for me, and no one was left to speak for me. Wake up, America. This government is not our government. It is a monster. Today is Gibson Guitars. Tomorrow is your business or your job. Yes, of course, the Gibson factory was raided for over $1 million worth of wood that they used to make the beautiful Gibson guitars. American-made. Just not good for the globalists.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
All of us need to be reminded that the federal government did not create the states. The states